Hello, friends. We are back to another episode of The Pursuit of Happiness. That was a long breath. Anyways, first of all, I just want to say I'm sorry if you watch on YouTube. I have not been able to upload the videos because I do record myself while I'm doing this. It's nothing special. You're not going to get any fancy stuff. All my podcast equipment I left back home in Canada before I came down, I should say, to Mexico. So hopefully when my family comes, they're able to bring it for me. I can do a little bit more like producing that way. But in terms of like visuals, I'm so sorry. They do upload to YouTube, but it's not like you're not going to get me. I don't know why I'm unable to. I don't know if just the Wi-Fi all of a sudden got a little bit weak. The episodes have been a little bit longer, but that's never sort of been an issue. Also, we do have new neighbors. And so I think just more people on the line using the Wi-Fi is just not... It's just not helping, but I'm going to do my best. Okay, at least you're going to be able to get audio, so, good enough. I want to start this episode with the bodybuilding show that I promised you guys all about. So, as you all know, I am a bodybuilder, and by bodybuilding, yes, I did do competitions. I'm not a professional. I am still amateur. I don't know if I'm going to compete again, but due to the nature of me being an addict, and I've talked about this in my previous episode, I've been sober now for 4 years. Prior to that, I had a 5-year stint of being sober. I think a lot of us that are in the gyms, especially at such a competitive or intense level, is because no one's normal. Okay? We're all fucked up in a way. But I did want to just sort of touch about my bodybuilding career. So I've always been a gym rat. I'm a woman, and I grew up I'm a millennial woman, so I grew up in the culture of like my parents, especially my mom always jumping on the scale and her expressing how she's never happy with her body. So I think that sort of like, as millennials, it's sort of, we adapt that type of mentality, which is so different than how I am with my daughter, although lately I've been a little bit more aware that I've been doing it, but I've still been doing it a lot more. I don't know what it is. I think it's just I'm so excited that I'm in a place where they view food differently, and I don't as readily have food available. Don't get me wrong, people don't starve here. There's grocery stores everywhere, but there's not an abundance. Like, it's not as gluttonous as I found it to be in like Canada and the US. Could you be as gluttonous? Sure, but we're also here on a budget, and like part of the reason that I want to move here is just so I got over my gluttony. I think I'm always going to be a binge eater at heart. I don't know where that came from. I think growing up, my mom always put a plate of food in front of us, and it's a Persian thing. We're Iranian, right? And so I grew up in Iran until I was 4, then moved to Canada, and it's always like she would always make so much food, and there's always leftovers, and it's always like stuff, eat. And even like prior to us moving out here, like for the month or so when I was kind of packing up my stuff at my dad's house, because I went and I moved in with my dad, who my dad and my mom live like they're divorced, but they live like maybe like 10 minutes away from each other by walk. Not even, I'd say 7 minutes. And like literally a 1-minute drive. But my daughter was staying at my mom's, and she was just stuffing my daughter's face. I'm like, Mom, like, I know that like you have the food and it's okay for her to like eat, but like also I want her to learn like discipline. Like, okay, I'm full. Like, I don't need any more. Like, could I eat more? Sure. Could my stomach take it? Sure. But like, do I need it? No. And it's like, because I think that's where like the binge eating comes in. Like, even here, like, we're on a very strict budget, but we still get what we need, and we're for the most part full. Like, we're not like stuffed going to bed, but we eat and we get what we need. And I find that at the end of the night, my daughter, if we do have extra stuff or we've just gone grocery shopping, she'll just go like eat everything, and then the next morning she's like throwing up. I'm like, you didn't have to eat so much. And she's kind of finding that balance, so anyways, as a woman, kind of always struggled with my body. So I always thought that I looked like, I grew up in Red Deer, Alberta. So when we first moved to Canada, I was Red Deer, Alberta. I grew up with a lot of Caucasians. I call myself an Iranian hick. I love hip hop, but I love country. Well, not love it, but like the old school country. Would learn how to drive with a truck. Like, I just kind of like that feel, like that lifestyle. Like, I always was like, I want to find a guy from like Alabama, and we go home for like to the country for Christmas. Here I am, 41, still single. So don't be so picky, Nos. No, just kidding. I enjoy being single. That's another topic. But I don't mind the country. I love it. I always thought that I looked like everybody else. And then I moved to British Columbia in like grade 5 or grade 6. And then I never thought I looked different. until I went to high school, and then that was a big reality call. I was very popular in elementary school in the sense that like everyone knew who I was, and I got along with everybody. And throughout the years, you kind of build your name in elementary school. And then I went to high school, and high school is a bunch of schools mixed together, and I was humbled really quick. And I think that was the first piece of trauma that I received, where I was like, I don't look like everybody, I'm not as popular as everybody. I ran for grade 8 council and no one cheered for me, but then the one girl that ran, that made it, everyone cheered for her. And I was like, that's so opposite of like grade 7, like everyone cheered for me. And I was humbled really quick because none of my friends like cheered for me, and I was like, wow. And I think that was the first time I was like, fuck everybody, like fuck the people I went to elementary school with, like these are not my friends, like they didn't even cheer me when I went up there. And it was humbling. And then as I got older, like the girls that I saw that were like popular, quote unquote, like the way that they wore their outfits, and I would like beg my parents, like we were dirt poor, like I had one pair of jeans for like all of high school. I had to cry and beg my dad. But then like I would buy finally the same outfit as them, and I would wear it, and I'm like, I don't look like them. And I think just naturally as I grew older, I was always really thin, but as I grew up, my tummy came out a little bit more. My mom kind of has that little pudge on her tummy, but she's very tiny. My grandma had it. It's just a natural layer of skin on my stomach, like kind of like fat that sits there. And it disappears when I get super, super lean, but also to be that super, super lean is like uncomfortable. Like you're pretty much starving. So I just hold weight in my midsection. I always had really, really skinny legs. So part of me eventually bodybuilding was because I wanted to get rid of my stomach, flatten that out, and then build my legs. I wanted more thicker legs. Never really had a butt. I ended up getting cosmetic surgery on my butt, a BBL, but it's nothing what you think. Like, I know you guys see these BBLs on these shows or on, you know, these hip hop videos, and those are like after many rounds and gaining weight, losing weight. Like, I gained a weight, which was probably the biggest I ever been in my life for the surgery, and then 2-3 years after I lost the weight, and that's kind of where I'm at now. Like the leanest I weighed was in 2024, and that was me doing it naturally, like just getting back, but I lost my butt and I paid for my butt. I'm like, what the heck? But that just goes to show you that it is a fat transfer. If you lose body fat, you will lose anything that you transferred fat to, or just where fat sits naturally. A lot of the girls that do have that really like carved out butt, it's multiple rounds of BBLs, and it's injections as well. So don't be deceived by what you see. I would say mine's on a more natural level. Like people can't even tell, especially when I get really skinny, because they're like, where'd the butt go? But it is a lot more curvy than before I got it done, because naturally we have flat butts in my family. So, and then I started bodybuilding. When I first started bodybuilding, glutes weren't really in. It was more like just like I wanted like nice cap shoulders. I wanted to be lean. I forget that I have a mic there, so if it swishes, my bad. But then and that was, I think, 2012, because then I had my daughter in 2013. And then finally 2014, I did my first competition in bikini, and I placed top 5. And this is when I was still sober. Remember I said I had a previous stint being sober. And then when I got into the bodybuilding community, I realized how if you're not in the mindset, or you're a woman recovering from an eating disorder, you're just a woman trying to get skinny, and you're doing these bodybuilding shows, how detrimental it is to your health. So it has gotten me a long time to get to a place where like I'm okay dieting again without the use of drugs, nothing like that. Even sometimes with my ADHD medication, like, because sometimes it depends if I take a little too much or just my mood that day. Like every day is so different on them, so I try to do whatever I can to minimize those effects. But it's just amazing how many women go into bodybuilding for the wrong reasons. They do 1 or 2 shows, they lose weight, you know, they're typically bigger, they're on this weight loss journey. And I love, if it's a goal to just do one, great. But I think that overall the tone of the bodybuilding community needs to change a lot. I think a lot of more coaches need to really emphasize to the females, and now they're starting to get, like, for example, like therapists on teams and stuff, so that if they notice the girls are kind of like unable to stick to the diet, or post show they're rebounding really bad, and rebounding by that I mean like gaining tons of weight back, because generally if you want to be in this career, you should be able to gain 10 pounds of muscle, like just 10 pounds in general, because much more than that, then you're gaining fat, and then to go into another show, it's so much harder to lose the weight. But you do need to put on a little. You can't live on diet mode. Like those girls are, even the men, they're lean. They're really lean at that point. I know they look jacked on stage, but it's because they've cut all their fat. But if you actually see them in person, they look so small. And men hate getting that little tiny, but then they love the post show because they get to put it back on. Women, we love how we look on stage, and we want to stay that way. And that's when the body dysmorphia, and if you're already suffering from an eating disorder, that's when it really comes in. Again, back to what I was saying, I think it's very important moving forward in the industry that coaches take a lot. They don't just allow their girls to do, hey, I want to join your team, I'm going to pay this amount of money, put me on stage. There needs to be a mental health dive, because this is destroying the women. And not just that, the use of steroids have become a lot more now. Before you get to me to my voice is not from steroids. I have taken oral steroids before, but you need tons. You need like testosterone to change your voice. Just like when people are transitioning. In Iranian culture, naturally women, not all, but women do have deeper voices. And I used to be a smoker, and I love my voice. And I think that it just makes me different. And a lot of people when I was younger used to tell me that I should do radio. Well, here I am doing podcasts. So, and the nice thing about my voice is sometimes people will tell me, I didn't recognize you. And then I heard you talk, and I was like, no, that's Nas. That's nice. That's nice to have something unique about me, you know? And I know that I'm not a man. And my daughter laughs when she sees those comments. She's like, Mommy, those people they don't even know you. And that's like, I love that. And trust me, the men that I've been with definitely know that I'm not a man. So that doesn't really hurt me. But I do get it all the time. Like, wow, you sound like a man but look like a woman. Or like, are you a she-man or something? And it's a lot of, and especially in Vancouver, from one culture and one race, and that's fine. They're just jealous that they can't get me. And I'm sorry that I sound more masculine than you. Like, and sometimes people come into my DMs and I just kill them with kindness. They're like, how do you sound like a man but look like so beautiful? Like Huda, this one girl said. I know that she was throwing a dig. So I just responded. I'm like, oh my God, I know. And when I was younger, like, imagine when I was a smoker, it was so much worse. And it was so much raspier too. But, and then she's like, oh, I didn't mean it in a bad way. I swear, I totally got her. And I was like, you know what? I don't get offended. I'm like, I used to. But then, like, when people tell me that they recognize me because of my voice, I realize that that's what makes me unique. And I love that. Like, it would suck if I was exactly the same as everybody else, or looked exactly the same, you know, or sounded exactly the same. So that's my cool feature. And when you get to know me, I've never met anyone that's doing better than me, or that is in admiration, or is one of my mentors that will ever comment on my voice. It's typically people that I trigger that day. Or I remember when I first started taking my eyelashes off, because I used to get my eyelashes done, and I was like, well, if I move and I can't, I just want to, like, I do them now myself, but I do the DIY ones. And I know, sorry, I'm digressing, but I just kind of want to cover this. I posted a video of myself without my lashes, and someone's like, whoa, you look so different when I first started following you. I go to him, I'm like, why would you send me that comment? Just out of curiosity. I'm like, I don't know what's going on in your life, but I'm confident in who I am. And if you're having a bad day, I'm so sorry that you had to take it out on me, but I hope that you feel better. And he apologized profusely. You're right, I was having a bad day. I'm so sorry, blah, blah. People are going to change. We're not here to entertain you. If anything, I definitely don't want to be an entertainer. I kind of just want to be like an advice giver. I like to yap a lot, so I want to give my advice, and I feel like my perspective is different, and that's where I'm coming from. Should I be on your screens in a different capacity? I feel like maybe there's a little bit more room for judgment. I mean, bodybuilding, we step on stage, we're getting judged on our bodies, but we work for that one moment, you know? And it's the entire package. But I think people think that we have to be on all the time. Back to what I was saying about this entire bodybuilding thing being a mind F, it will just F you up if you're not in the right frame of mind. So sometimes I see these coaches, because typically when you do these bodybuilding shows, you're coached by someone. It's just someone to be accountable to. Even though you're the best in the world and you're a coach yourself, you always have a coach, someone to be accountable to. You don't necessarily need a trainer, but a coach. And they're just allowing girls that are like, yeah, I was with this coach and he told me that I had to do this, but I don't like what he said, so can I come with you? They take them on because it's quick money. And they don't really think about the repercussions that it's going to have to the female, not just psyche, but body, you know? And I think that that's one of the things that needs to completely change. And I see a lot more women coming in. They just want to like lose some weight. Like they're on the last 10 pounds. They want to do a show. They want to showcase it. Great. They rebound after. You never hear from them again. Or they rebound and they come back. They stop posting until they're lean again because they think that they have to be that lean. The women that survive, that are constant in the top 10, which we're going to start talking about, they're the ones that are probably not suffering from eating disorders or have managed it, gone to therapy for it. They're able to gain weight, not feel bad, post photos of themselves and still lose it. And I mean, I look at them and even me and the eating disorder, the addiction or the disease in my head comes back and says, wow, even though she's like 10 pounds over stage and she's not doing a show, she still looks so skinny. I wish that I looked like that. But you just are your own worst critic. I'm sure they might feel like that to a sense, like they're not like their lean self. And I don't like to be that lean. I still want to have curves. And I think for me, like that would be like if I'm doing a show and I'm prepping, it would be like 6 weeks out. Like that's the look that I like, because you're still lean, your abs are in, but you're not like starving. You're still like able to, because after that 6 to 4 week mark, it's like your food gets cut. You're getting ready to go on stage. It's just all cardio. It depends how you've done your prep. Like if you came in with not much body fat to lose, then you're going to coast a little bit more with your workouts and your cardio, but you just have no energy. Like literally the last few weeks, you're just sleeping. You're just sleeping and eating. Like it's a joke. We see these memes where it's like they have an alarm that they have to wake up every 2 hours just to eat and do their workout and go back. And then the last week, you're just a zombie. And it's just to go on stage with those. It really is a sport. And you guys got to think about this. There's no payout. Like only the top people, and that would be the bodybuilders. Like I'm talking like the Jack, like the Ronnie Coleman types, which I love. The reason I love them, by the way, I want to say is not how they look, is because I think their class, that bodybuilding type class, is the only class that still takes years to become a professional, because their bodies are all about building. But I find like every other category now is like such a joke. Like everyone wants to get their pro card, which is what you call it, within like 2 shows. And the old school bodybuilders, the Jay Cutlers, the Ronnie Colemans, it took them years, 15, 20 years. Arnold Schwarzenegger, 15, 20 years to get to that point where they were even able to compete up against the top in the world. The drugs have changed. The doses that they think are good have changed. No one's directing them to do this. It's just all self-taught. The internet is more predominant. People are just posting things, and you assume that it goes good with you, so you do it. I've never taken bad ones to that extent. Always oral for the females. The thing with my body is naturally, I think I'm just born to be a bodybuilder. I'm Iranian. It's in my genes. Think Hadi Chopin and all the top bodybuilders, but I've never had a hormone panel go bad. I've always still had my period throughout my bodybuilding shows. I've never lost that. And I think that that's a huge thing. Women lose it. They lose their periods for years while they're competing. And it's like, it shouldn't be that way. Like your body should still be functioning normal, but it's just all the use of these steroids and they're just doing bikini, and that's fine. But back to me, my second show, because I placed top 5 in my first show. So then my second show, I was really introduced to what bodybuilding was. And it's like, there was lots of cocaine, and there was lots of drugs, and just to stay skinny. And I got too skinny. I looked sick. I'm so embarrassed of those photos. I don't even post them. And if I ever post my body, I just like hide my face because it was embarrassing. Like you could tell I was on something. And then I went on to do another show, and that was figure, and I thought that I could do the same thing, and I looked like crap. And then I stopped. And that's when I got sober again, like that amongst other things. But I was like, this is not for me. This is not the life for me. I also got the biggest that I was. And when I worked at a gym from about 2019 to 2023 or 2022, I was a general manager at a Gold's Gym in Vancouver where I lived. And I was the fattest that I ever was. And then I quit and I decided to get surgery. So I gained a little bit more weight. And then... but working in a gym, and I was the biggest that I'd ever been. And now when I go back to that gym or people see me, they're like, whoa, because this is me normally. But I was just in such a rut, like the post-rebound years later from the bodybuilding show, single mom, no direction. Then I went to the gym and I had no time to work. The loser managers that I had like worked me to death. And now all the managers that are there, they don't have half the tasks that I did. It's like... and all a big learning experience, but never once an apology, like we sorry that this happened. And it's too late. The trauma's done. Do I forgive? Do I forget? No. I just know that after that, I was like, I'm never working for anybody again. I'm never having anyone take me away from my kid. I'm never having anyone sacrifice. I hated the gym when I worked in a gym. I never wanted to see a gym again. And then when I left, I had to slowly build my love for it back again. And 2023, so this was before my surgery. No, this is a little bit after my surgery. 2022, I had my surgery. In August of 2022, I'd gone to Mexico for the first time, Cancun. Me and my daughter went to the Caribbean side. And then 2023, we decided to come back during Christmas for a month. And 2023 was when I really started. I just was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to the gym every day while she's at school. And I'm just going to work out every day, move my body. That's it. I made my goals really small and simple because I was so overwhelmed with how big I'd gotten. And I just didn't know where to start to go back down to what I knew. And then by the summer of 2024, May, I was lean. And I think a lot of things also, I had changed ADHD medication, and I was working a lot. I was working cash for these guys that I knew and making lots of good money. And I got back to a place that I was happy with, but that lasted maybe for the summer. And then after the summer, winter comes, you eat a little bit more. And then I kind of came back to, like, I was 130 then I got up to about 145, which looks normal on me. Like, I have the curves and stuff, but then my stomach came back. And we all started this conversation because of the stomach. It wasn't huge. It's not huge, but it's just definitely, you can see it. And I remember once, this sticks with me forever. And, you remember when people say things to you. Like, I remember once I was fighting with this girl at the local pool when I was like in grade 5. And we were fighting, and then she said something to me. She said, well, at least I'm not pregnant, So, like, you remember things like that as a kid. And then I remember after I had my daughter and I went to a dinner with some of my friends, there was a girl there from Vegas, and her boyfriend was there, her boyfriend or husband. And they were, I don't know, I think he was a professional athlete. I don't know. I'm not really good with them. So even if I was in a room stuck with them, I wouldn't know unless someone pointed it out. And I was kind of sitting, and I had the skirt on, and the shirt like kind of folded, similar to this. And I could hear him tell her, and they were looking right at my stomach, and they were like, yeah, that's a lot of meat. And like, even hearing these things never pushed me enough to do it. It's like, I would sulk and I would hate myself, and I'd be like, why was I born like this? And another option that I could do is a tummy tuck, because yes, I did the butt. Now I can do a tummy tuck, but because I get lean enough, it does disappear. But I think like maybe, because right now I'm broke. The reason I moved to Mexico is I made some bad financial decisions after 2024. And then I lost that job that I was getting paid cash. So I have all this nice furniture that I ordered from Amazon, all these nice things in storage. But I just needed to, hence why I'm here, which is another story for another day. But my health also, like, I was just so hyper focused on the scale, and I had to I had to stop looking at the scale, because the scale is the worst, because the scale and the BMI, it doesn't always account for how I look, and my muscle mass and how long I've worked out, and it's just such a generalized number. And it's like, I'm a lot more muscle, like people will be like, oh yeah, you look like you work out, as opposed to, I don't know, even now when I'm barely not, like, you can just tell that I do. So I had to stay away from those numbers. I had to just do what I felt good and how I feel. And so I'm slowly getting it back. But these are all, and I'm not blaming the bodybuilding lifestyle at all. I love it. I love bodybuilding. It's one of my, I could watch all the show whenever there's a show on, and I can catch a glimpse of it, or I don't have to pay-per-view it. I love it. And even if I have to, I'll usually pay-per-view Olympia but you need to be in a very strong mindset. You cannot be suffering from an eating disorder and go in, because it's going to follow you around until you deal with it. You're going to be doing it for the wrong reasons. And again, that's why there's very few women that are the top, that maintain their status at the top. It's because of how they look and view food. And yeah, they could be just naturally thin women. Great. And some other women are just very disciplined, and they don't view food like how we view food. I think part of the reason that I even became an addict was because I did drugs that made me skinny. And I was like, hell yeah. This is the first time I've been this lean in my life, as women, it's just such a different outlook on it. And like, for the men, it's so different. They like to put on the weight. They love their off season. They almost hate when they have to like start to get lean, you know? For women, it's completely different. So I just want to put that out there. If you know anybody, just, you know, make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. If it's just a bucket list thing to get it off your bucket, to, you know, I did it, great. You lost some weight, you just want, great. If you want to take it a little bit more seriously, there's a lot more dimensions to it, and you just have to be ready to put on that little bit of weight and not suffer in that spot that you think that you have to be, which is like the leanest. Because if you feel like that's where you're the happiest, that's the eating disorder right there. And I don't know what you call that new one, because I know binge eating, I know anorexia, I know bulimia. This is just different. This is like the bodybuilding one, where it's like, don't gain weight, like stay stage lean, which is like impossible. Like your circulation sucks, you're always cramping because your magnesium levels are low, you're sleepy, you can't. And as you get closer to your show date, your coach will, you don't lift as heavy, you just kind of like do it for like maintenance, you know, like kind of like more reps, less weight, you know, to just stay conditioned. And it's because your body can't handle it. Like, you're weak, you don't have food, you know, like, and that's not a space or a weight that you want to live at. But we're women, you know. Anyways, so I digress. I kind of got off a little bit off topic, but I kind of want to just give you a little bit of history and where I kind of stand with that. Will always love the sport. It's my favorite all-time sport. I love it. I'm so fascinated by the people that can do it long-term and that know how it works. Like, it takes you, and now at 41, I realize it takes years. Like, if someone at 21 is like, I love your body, I'm like, yeah, girl, I'm 41. This took years to build, and a mindset. Like, I had to go through the ups and downs to get here. So now I understand it. At 28, my mindset was completely different when I first started in the whole bodybuilding scene, not necessarily working out. But yes, I was a trainer as well. I'm also still coaching some people online, just opened up some spots. So I'll try to do a fitness episode once a week, you know, just to kind of like keep you updated and just give my tips and stuff for fitness wise, because it's also something that I'm always pursuing and it keeps me happy. And if I can share my knowledge, I would love to do that, you know. And I don't know if you guys, so let's get into some bodybuilding shows. We just recently had the Olympia, and that's like the Olympics for anyone that does bodybuilding. So throughout the year, what bodybuilders will do is they'll do shows. And I think, I don't know how the point system works, but you have the amateurs and they have to compete in shows where they can win their pro card. Once you win your pro card, then you start competing in the pro shows with other professional athletes, bodybuilders. You have the bikini division, you have figure, then you have wellness. Wellness is similar to bikini, but just thicker legs. So it's like you got a lot of the Latinas, you know, the Latin American countries, big legs, you know, smaller upper bodies. They just built that division because some of the girls, they didn't want to go up to figure, which is a little bit more muscle, a lot more back development and whatnot. But then bikini was too small. Like, they had to really diet down. And when you hold a lot more fat or body fat in your weight and weight in your legs, it's really hard to diet down. Much easier when you hold it on your stomach, because then the last few weeks your stomach will disappear. But then if it's in your legs or your lower body, it's tough to get rid of that first, right? You'll be so, like, you'll be dying. So they developed that. So it's bikini, wellness, figure, and then you have physique, which is a little bit bigger than figure, but it's more like you're going to see a lot more use of steroids in the women in this category. And then you have the bodybuilding for women, which was so controversial for a while. They took it out, but then the bodybuilding women were like, why would you take it out? That's unfair. Put it back in. We've won shows, so they put it back in. Whatever floats your boat. I know many women that are women bodybuilders that their voices have changed and they've taken steroids and they're lovely. I love them. I don't judge them at all because I'm used to seeing it. And I knew them before that, and they're the same person. They just wanted to that's fine. But I know how for some people, when they look at it from the outside in, they don't know it, are not knowledgeable about it, they just look at the aesthetic, like they just look at what they see, and they don't know that it's a human being behind it. I just want you to reconsider how you approach people like this, because they're still human beings, and just because they've made decisions that are different than what you would make, let's not judge them on that. You know, everyone deserves kind of to do what they want. And if you want to judge, then I can't stop you, but they're still human beings underneath there, you know? They're still women, they still like womanly things, and Anyways, so just recently they introduced a new category called fit model, because I think that there was a division like bikini. Over time, these women, as you're working out, just like I said, for many years, your muscle maturity, your muscles get more tense, you do look more harder and jacked. Even if it's just bikini, it's just you've been doing it for a long time. So they introduced fit model for the women that thought maybe they're a little bit too intimidated by the women in bikini, because now the look is a little bit more jacked as opposed to when it first was introduced. So that those women are not intimidated. And so there's a new kind of entry level category. And you have to realize that bodybuilding is a corporation. These people do, the people that host the shows and whatnot, they all make money. The top winners typically make money. The most that you can make is if you're in the bodybuilding category, like the big, muscly, huge men, not Chris Bumstead, but like the other guys, they make, I think, $600,000 if they win. And then up to like 5th place or 3rd place, there's prizes. The Chris Bumstead category, he does make money as well. He was classic physique. That's also in your category. It's like a cross between physique with the board shorts, because before the board shorts didn't really focus on the feet, but also a little bit more defined, not just big, huge, like muscle monsters, which I love. I just love their discipline, and I love how they're just constantly working out. And you can say, because they take steroids, sure. But you also have to work out, because I've taken steroids before and I've never worked out, and nothing happened to my body. Okay, so there's a level of working out that you have to do. Has it changed over the years? Are people more now, the younger generation, just relying on that? Absolutely. But I don't think it's at the fault of the older guys. I think it's at the fault of the social media, because now there's just more of these forums and stuff where people talk about it. But the guy, you'll know, the ones that have been in the business the longest will never talk about what they take, and they're constantly in the gym working. It's been 15, 20 years and they're still trying to get their pro cards. So like, if anything, like it didn't just happen overnight. It's more this younger Gen Z mentality where like you can go into a show and just get it after like 2 shows, and do this and you can get it. But it's all muscle maturity. It's all gaining the wisdom. Your muscles also need that wisdom, and it takes years to get there. So, it's a corporation, so introducing a new category such as fit model was just the next thing to do, because now you're going to get a whole slew of women that don't want to be as jacked as you would think that they think bikini is, and they're just entry level. And again, to get to bikini, it's going to take years, so they just want something quick and now, right? So it's kind of like you're just kind of doing a photo shoot ready is a lot different than stage ready. It's like you're not as like starving, I guess you could say. You're not as lean. You still have a little bit more juice in you. But you're still lean enough to do these nice photo shoots. And typically after everyone does a show, they do a photo shoot just to showcase their work. They're in their best shape, Recently, we just had our Olympia, and the bikini category has always been the most controversial. People say it's the most subjective. Of course, it's subjective. It's just a bunch of judges judging, so the looks will change every year. One year they think this is good, one they think that is good. The girl that won this year. So last year, there was a girl that won, Lauralie. If you guys know her, she's very famous in the bodybuilding community, Canadian, from Montreal. She's had a controversial sort of background, I would say. She dated one of the top bodybuilders who's now passed away, Sean Roden. She started dating another guy. He lives out in Miami, and I had to stop following her because just her relationship with the new guy that she was dating is just so toxic. Like they go back and forth from like following each other, unfollowing each other. The one day they're working out at the gym, one day they're not working out. It was just toxic for me because I've been in relationships like that. And like, I find that when you're an athlete, yes, you're a normal human being. I get it. But look at all these soccer players. Look at them. I seen this one where they come and there's a boy that has this little syndrome and they come grab him. He's English, I think, or Irish, and they take him and they take him around. And like, athletes are people that you look up to so much. And I know in America it's a little bit different. Like you have the football players that have their dirty laundry aired, but there's a level of you have like privacy of your life that you have to maintain because people are looking up to you. So much so that when I'm going to look at football stars, and by football I mean American football, that when something controversial comes out, like there's domestic violence or just something, ultimately they will not allow that person to play and kind of like cancel his contract because You are in the public's eye, especially kids. Kids are looking up to you. You can't be a role model by like beating up your wife, but then being a great football star. And I know it happens, but like there's a level of also reputation that you have to maintain. This is why they get paid what they get paid, not just their athletic abilities, because they're always on. They're always on. If you notice, they're always showing up at games in suits and like because they're always on. People are looking up to them, you know. And that is the aspect of professional athleticism that I think people miss. You know, like, yes, they're humans. They're all going through their human. We get it. But there's still a level of, I don't want to say fakeness, of a facade that they have to build, because there's just also young people looking at it. You know what I mean? Like, so when it comes to her, I think this is her downfall, and I think this is why it's really hard for her to win shows, because the judges that are judging are normal people, and they see social media and they hear what goes on, and you can't help. It's like a jury. You can't help but have that at the back of your mind. I know people are like, the jury doesn't know what's going on. Come on. When a jury walks in, at least one of them knows what's going on. They're going to pretend that they don't. Swear on oath. People will lie on oath all the time. I don't know why people are so like gung-ho about, yeah, he said it on oath. Who cares? So many people say things on oath. They swear on their kids' lives and they're lying, you know? Like, come on. It doesn't mean just because you're in a courtroom, you're not going to do it either. I think that it's worked against her lifestyle, because as an athlete, she's incredible. But her lifestyle and these things that she gets into, to be with a man that treats you this way, and there was allegations of like them robbing Sean Roden's house before he passed, and when Sean died, she wasn't even allowed to cry for him because the new Hispanic guy that she's with freaked out and was like, why would you cry for your ex, and made her keep all that trauma inside. And it's like, she had an old coach named James, and allegedly all this stuff went down, and she became the headline and that, and she's still the people's favorite. People still love her. Another girl won this year, and this girl didn't actually compete last year. She had to drop out last year. And the winner from the year before also didn't compete last year. So I feel like maybe that's why Lauralie did win last year in 2024. And then she came back in 2025 hoping to regain that title. But then that girl, Maureen, came back, and Maureen swept that title under, to a point that people were talking so much bad about her and being like, I can't believe Maureen won. These are coaches. I'm hearing coaches talk like this. It's like, why can't we just realize that that's the new standard? Maureen is an athlete to the top tier. She's such a dangerous athlete because she can just walk in and she's sexy. She exudes what bikini is all about. Just her flair and the way she moves her body, and she's not controversial. Her private life is not. Now, she has talked about very candidly about her life growing up and how hard it was for her. But if she has a fight with her boyfriend, she's not in the limelight. I think one thing came up where there was something where words were exchanged, and she shut that down so quick because that's not what she wants to be remembered by. And she's like, I'm not going to deal with this on a public platform. When people say mean things about her or to her because she won, she doesn't engage. She's won. What does she need to engage with those people about? And I think that is what makes her powerful and dangerous as an athlete, because she can conquer past that. And what brings everybody else down is that they're watching you speak bad about another athlete that you just competed against, or maybe not. Maybe you're going to compete with them soon, or maybe you just got your pro card and you're competing at shows. But no one is going to help you get to the top when your sportsmanship is talking bad about other people. I think those are conversations that you kind of just keep your mouth shut in the public and you have with your closest friends. And I think even more so than that, you never get mad at the person that won. You always reflect on you and how you can do better for the next show. Okay, the athletes want someone a little bit more softer this year, great. The athletes want someone with a little bit more sexy flair, great. But why is it because she won, now we're shitting on her on how she looked, but she's the winner? I don't understand it, and I don't think it's great. Did I used to do it? Of course. Like, I'm not a professional athlete, so I'm allowed to give my opinion. I never really give my opinion on looks. I mean, sometimes I don't get what she was wearing, or, I think looks are so, I mean, I just sat here and I spilled my heart about how people said that I had meat on my stomach and how much that hurt me. Like, people are just born the way they're born. But I think there's things that you can do that it's always a reflection on you. You know, you can't change how the other person looks. And for the most part, it's tough to change how you look. But if you're going to be competing in a sport where it's all based on aesthetics, you can see what she did that made her win, and you can try to strive for that, because it's about getting better every year. And if you don't get better, if you lose, which Lauralie has done a lot of times, and she's taken it with grace, and I give her props for that, because I'm telling you, grade 8, I raced one the students council and I lost, and I freaking became traumatized for life. Now I almost hate public speaking. Like, I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with my own platform now, and I know that I have a message to give, so I'm a little bit more comfortable that way. And I'm also 42. I know my message is going to be completely different than everybody else's, but now at this age, I know. Whereas back then, it's high school. It's a big competition. This is where I think Lauralie loses, is this sportsmanship. Now, she's not out there running her mouth and saying this and that. It's just the unprofessionalism that occurs when she's not competing or on stage. And a lot of it has to do with the ex. I'm not saying that they're shitting on her for picking this guy that she fell in love with. You can't help who you fall in love with, but the fact that you keep running back to this guy over and over again. And apparently the latest story was that they got into a big fight right before the Olympia, so she unfortunately she lost a little bit too much weight. She was under a lot of stress. I get it, but Lauralie, when are you gonna just fucking realize, like, it's over? Like, why do you keep going back to this guy? Why do you are the number one bikini athlete in the world. Even if you don't win, people still love you. People are shitting on the winner because they love you. You are loved by everybody. But it's so sad that she wants the love of the one person that treats her like crap. Like, isn't this a story we've all heard before? And I just feel so sorry for her, because she hasn't addressed it yet. I don't think she will. It's just her, like, just masking and moving on, which is a professional way of doing it, you know? But not even a congratulations to Maureen. We have a lot to work on. Let's get to work, guys. Like, nothing, you know? But I did see them take photos together. So I'm not trying to be investigative, but, like, you know, don't go on behalf of Lauralie and, like, talk crap about Maureen, because I don't think that they're in that space. Like, it's going to be stupid to put two of them together. They're in the top 5. Well, she made 6. Lauralie went 6, which is crazy, because she's never been past top 5 in the past, like, 6 years. But life happens. There's a slew of new girls coming up. If you don't keep up, and if you don't keep professional, I'm sorry. One thing about her is, if she wants to keep competing, fantastic, because once you've won or you've made top 5, you don't have to go throughout the year to earn these points, which I think I was trying to get at earlier when I got sidetracked. Once you're in the pro leagues, you compete at shows. And I think if you land maybe in the top 3, you get points. And these points accumulate. And once you hit a certain number of points, you're able to compete at the Olympia. Lots of controversy about all the shows. There's way too many shows. Too many people qualify. Especially in a division like bikini, there's so many women. But with that being said, why not? Like, let them come through, because the judges will know. And I think this is part of where it gets subjective. Like, if you are known in the community, you volunteer, you go to these shows and you help the ladies out, and you volunteer your time with posing and just talking about the entire industry, I think that they hear more about you. But that also works against you, because if you got a boyfriend that you're constantly fighting with, and people are noticing that you're unfollowing each other and then following each other, oh, they're not together this week, they haven't posted together in a while, they don't follow each other, you're a celebrity at this point. So yeah, it's going to suck. People are going to notice all those little things. It's in the name of the game. And if she stops competing and she never wins another show again, or does another show again, people are still going to love her, because that's the type of personality and person that she is. And I feel so sorry for her, because I look at all these photo shoots that she's done after the show, and it's like, no matter how, all these photo shoots and all these shows that she does, she just wants to be loved by that one person that will never give her the love that she wants. And I feel so, so bad for her. Yeah, I guess you just can't have it all, like that saying goes. And I don't know what else to do. Like she allowed, like, these are the notes that I took. I think when relationships are toxic, it's because those people that come together, their energy combusts. So I'm not saying they don't love each other, but I just think in general, when, we're all energy, right? So when energies can mingle in together, it works. But they have an energy that's like oil and water. It can only sit together for so long. But then like physics or chemistry or whatever, these two elements combust. And it's such a good metaphor for even the relationships that I've been in. The relationships that are the most toxic, I love that person. I'm also an addict. I also seek dopamine. I'm ADHD. Was it a dopamine kick? Maybe. I haven't really dug that deep. I just know that it was unhealthy. And it was the relationships that really took my energy out the most. Like, I was exhausted after hanging out with this person. The fights, it's just like, who could scream the loudest? And to a point where I didn't even want to fight anymore, but I felt like I had to because this person expected me to fight. And it would always just end up being a fight. And it's like the most cutthroat relationships, like you just got to cut the person off at some point. Like, you can't even have, it's like the ones that, you know how you can just end a relationship normal, like, yeah, I don't feel like I'm not going to be doing business with you anymore, but thank you so much. Great. We move on. But these are like, it's like, has to end, and like blood needs to be shed for this to end. Like, this person just will not allow you to just walk away. There needs to be some sort of bloodshed, lives lost, like memorial set up, It's sad. And it's a chemical reaction. You need the right elements to change from liquid to solid. These two people can go off and find a beautiful relationship, and it's the most perfect. It could be with their new partners, if they get new partners. Because with the new partners, they're hearing each other and they're supportive, and their energy combined creates a new chemical that can actually withstand being together. Now, I'm doing the energy reference because chemical reactions, but ironically, I say I have good energy, and humans and living things are created by God, formed from energy. Look at the stars, galaxy, solar system. I find that this metaphor does kind of hold truth in many ways, so I'm kind of like, yeah, good job, Noz, for kind of landing on it. But Lauralie is the people's favorite. Everyone knows her and loves her. She could do no wrong. Now, I had to unfollow her because I could smell the toxicity from the new relationship from a mile away. It was such a trigger for me, which I've already said. And I've learned that just because two people go together and are so toxic, a blend of passion, dopamine hits, you fight, break up, announce to the world, and then back together, you don't see how influential and admired she is, yet she allows a man who claims to love her and treat her in that way. Like, it's like you're focusing on the wrong things. Don't focus on him. Focus on how you have this following and people just love you for no reason, or for reason, whatever. Like, it's like they just love her. She could do no wrong. She still chooses to go with the toxic person. I think when she was with her ex, when she's with her ex, the narcissism peaks and she can trigger him, whether it's on purpose or not. And it's just back to what I said. These two energies just at some point will combust. She wasn't allowed to cry when Sean died, who was one of her exes. She allowed the new ex, the one that they had just recently broken up from Miami, to disparage her and her reputation and make all their intimate fights public. Every time they would get into a fight, he would go to social media and be like, she did this, to kind of make people think bad about her. To be like, see, true, by the way, true narcissist, to be like, see, it's not all about me. Look what she's done. And I find that so kind of like, why do you want the world to see your partner that way? Because they see you that way, so now you have to bring her down too? It's disgusting behavior. It's so toxic. I'm not saying he's a bad guy either. I just think that when these two come together, they bring out the worst in each other. And so far, it makes him look a lot worse because he's the man. And prior to her being with him, no one ever heard about him. But they all knew her, and she definitely didn't behave this way in other relationships. So we can only point the finger. Again, I don't think he's a bad guy. In fact, I had gone to the gym to check them out because now he's on the map. But them together is what brings out the worst in each other. He made her abandon everything, her home in LA. I think she couldn't even go see her family for a while, which is allegedly, these are the things I'd heard on Reddit. She did have a podcast with one of her really good friends that stopped. I think maybe because, I don't know, allegedly not spending enough time with him at home. He engaged in criminal behavior. Both of them actually did, by going to Sean's place and trashing it. Again, two people can bring the worst out in each other. He probably was never involved in anything like this, but then all of a sudden, allegedly, they're together, and now they're, It's the dopamine. It's the dopamine from the toxic behavior. And it's sad that it can do that, but this is where self-discipline is so important. He again publicly spoke ill of Lauralie's ex-coach, which is James from Team Atlas, to which he had to come out himself and defend himself, because now, like, there's up to a limit where people can talk shit, and until a point where either you get your PR involved or you start coming out and you're like, okay, this is completely false. I never even heard of this ex. I don't want to say his name, but the one that lives in Miami. I'd never even heard of him, honestly, prior to him dating Lauralie. So obviously he's getting the followers and all this press tour that he's going on about her exes, like, just to change the narrative. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think that this is what this relationship with her brought out in him. This is why I don't think they're the best for each other. There's always some big event surrounding Olympia when it comes to Lauralie, always. She needs support, and he destroys her confidence and spirit. True nature of a narcissist, whether he does it on purpose or not. It could just be the factors that lead up to it. Like, she's spending a lot more time doing other things, and he's so used to it being different, and he might just not see that it's, he's doing this. But it's always some big catastrophic event when she needs to step on stage. And he's supposed to be her support, and he completely ruins it for her. Let's say that it's her problem and she's actually the narcissist, and they just don't mix like oil and water. They bring out the worst in each other. Why not just put up a boundary and be like, we're not going to deal with this until after the Olympia? Why fight with someone knowing that they're doing something so important going into, especially at our age? I swear, I think that you just don't realize it. And it's ultimately costing her all this stuff that she worked so hard for, because you just can't help but have a little negative connotation about her. Is she the person that you want to be carrying this, like, knowing that she's going, because I think an athlete is all encompassing. It's just not what you see on stage or on game day. It's their entire lifestyle. They can't be faking that they're like in great shape leading up to the Olympia, but then the rest of the year they're eating like crap and promoting. And that's another thing. After she stopped with James, she started promoting like rebounds, like, yeah, just eat whatever you want. And like, this is not what coaches teach their athletes after a show. Maybe she's lucky that she just doesn't gain as much weight. I told you, she's one of those athletes that even when she's gained weight, she still looks pretty lean. Still has a flat stomach. Nothing's too, she does look thicker. Her face gets obviously, but like, to promote that, like, these are the things. Why? Because now you're with this new guy, and the new guy says, oh, like, screw reverse diets, just eat whatever you want. Like, but it's not just the ex-coach that's like promoted reverse dieting. Every woman in this industry, I just had this conversation for half an hour before I got into this, that women need to have a plan. And if you have an eating disorder, it's the wrong thing to get into, because it will heighten your eating disorder. And for women that just stop competing, like, you're dieting for 16 weeks and then all of a sudden you stop and you go eat everything, you're going to blow up. So that's why a reverse diet is so important. And she, for a while there, and she hasn't done it in a while, but she was promoting just eating whatever after a show. She's like, just do it. Your body needs to. Sure, of course, eat whatever. Don't be on a diet anymore, but slowly ease back into it. I'm telling you, nothing that she did went aligned with being an athlete that is spreading a good message. My light just went out. Okay. So yeah, I had to stop following her. And listen, if you want to be authentic, and all this has happened once before, explain to women why this is unacceptable. Be authentic. Be a role model. Be like, look, I have made some bad choices relationship-wise. I'm not going to talk about that right now. I really want to focus on this. This is something that's really important to me. I'm not going to allow a man or anybody, my family, my friends, to ruin this for me. That's the authentic. If this is going to be broadcasted for the world to see, have some authentic. Don't just hide it, because now we all know, and now we can't help but judge. And if you, for a second, don't think that the judges don't see this and see you in a slightly different light, I think that you're honestly mistaken. People are always going to judge. People hear one thing and they judge you, and it's hard to bring. It's just like what's that thing when you break a glass? It's hard to put all the pieces back together. Or if you hand out 500 flyers, if you try to go back and get all those 500 flyers, you're not going to get them all back. Someone's tossed them. Someone's already looked at it. You can't change opinions. But if something's happened, and I think celebrities are great at doing this, unless you're like a wheelhouse like Kim Kardashian, where you can kind of hide behind your PR and you have all the money in the world and lawyers, and even them, they just admit it. They've gotten to a point where like, okay, this is what's happening. We want to keep the boundaries around, for the kids, for our lives, and we deserve some privacy. Great. At least they've addressed it to a point, but to just sweep it under the rug. Like, she hasn't even addressed that she came in 6th when she was 1st last year. I think as an athlete, this is your responsibility. Like, how are you moving forward? For just forgetting that it existed? Because that's what she's done with her relationships, but like, that's toxic. And again, if you think for a minute that these judges don't take any of these things into consideration, I think that you're mistaken. I think that if they can find a better example, even if you got the body, but just a better example of an athlete that showcases athleticism all year round, professionally, social media, that's who they're going to go with. Not to mention, Maureen has that sex appeal. Not saying Lauralie doesn't, but it worked for her. To be the Bikini Olympia and to be a positive role model for girls and women all over the world, yeah, you're going to lose. Maureen has not walked on stage and secretly her boyfriend or her are attempting to assassinate the other's character. And if they do it, if they do have problems, it's definitely behind closed doors because none of us hear about it. She's sexy, she's classy. I don't think she would ever do that in public. I mean, never say never, but up until this point hasn't done stuff like that in public. I just really feel bad for her because I see her doing these photo shoots and kind of just pretending like, yeah, like life's like, we're moving on with my life, But it's like, no matter how many of these photo shoots and competitions that she does, she still wants to be loved by the wrong person. And it's still not winning her what she wants, which is the Olympia. She wanted it like 2 years in a row. How amazing would that be? I find that for her, it's always the hardest. And I felt so bad for her, but then sometimes I can't help but think that she puts herself in these situations. And I know I'm not necessarily doing like a body wise. I'm a deep person. If you've listened to any of my podcasts up until this point, you know that I look at things on a very different level. Like I go really deep. Like I look at it from the top down, like in a really mental, spiritual, emotional aspect. If you're not taking care of your mental, emotional, spiritual, it's going to showcase on your physical. And that's what happened to her. Although she looked freaking fantastic, it's not what the judges wanted for her to win. And she has been given feedback many times. She's actually the type of person that she'll downsize her body. Like she had these huge glutes and she downsized so that she could be in the bikini criteria. Whereas I'd be like, if I grew my glutes that big, it'd be a blessing. I'd be like, hell no, I don't care what they say. I'll just drop out of bikini. I want big ass glutes. But she's a competitor and she wants to win. And it's like, but they're giving you the criteria and you're not doing it. And it's like, I think like if someone just needs to have professional athleticism classes, like no one's telling her that, let's just put all this crap to the side because this might be hindering your progress in the eyes of everybody, I don't think that her ex or maybe her boyfriend again now will ever love her the way that she wants to be loved. I think that he does love her passionately, of course, but it's not the way that she needs to be loved because this is not the way that I just think both of them deserve better. Because if they're bringing out the worst of each other, where it's like he looks like he's like the instigator all the time and they're constantly fighting and maybe he just needs someone that's not a competitor or that like has so much focus on her. I mean, don't get me wrong, still is an athlete, but just maybe not as much focus and a little bit more into him. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's not to say that he's not the type of guy that like does not want his woman to like be into something. It's just maybe, he's at an age where he wants a little bit more focus like on them because then that's going to help him move on and like family wise and stuff like that, right? She'll never win the Olympia, I think, if she's not living as her authentic self. If she's living this fake relationship, pretending that she's in love because like she doesn't think that she's going to get any better, but she wants to portray that she's this fantastic athlete. Because I think every component, like I just said, mental, physical, spiritual, all plays into how it looks physically, right? This is how everyone's going to start to now know you. You're this person, and you either lean into it and you influence women and you become that influencer that you want to be. You're like, I am this person. I am a competitor. I have made very bad decisions. You don't have to shit on the ex. be like, we've decided to like go our separate ways, and really focus on you, and don't even make it about him. Be like, I just need to get back to me and what I love to do, and I don't need a boyfriend. I've gone 10 years of my life always being with a man, and now it's just time to focus on me and see what doors open. I think that can be more of an influence, and that can put you for sure in the top 2 at least, than the road that she's going down now. And I think that, again, we have to really consider, and I know some people will be like, nope, that's wrong. It's not based on that. No, they never. There's a little bit of that plays a little bit of influence. Because had she gone on that stage and she was like the all-star, like completely single, and like really advocating for women and going to women's shelters, for example, and talking to women of like, that have just broken up, or like whatever, I want to say of domestic violence, but that's all alleged. I don't think there's any domestic violence. Please don't, I don't want to get sued for saying something like that, but these are alleged. Or going to shelters like this, even if she hasn't been domestic violence, or visiting people who've lost a partner like how she had, and just kind of being more involved in stuff like that, and not having these boyfriend issues, and not having no boyfriend at all, but kind of focusing on giving back that way, on top of what she already does. Don't get me wrong, she gives back so much, but just a little bit more, just to kind of offset the bad stuff that's happened. I think that she would win even the people that don't necessarily love her, which everyone does. Everyone loves. Even I vote for her. Like I'm on her side. I just can't follow her because I can't just observe the toxicity and be like, how is she allowing this to happen? It just really triggers me. So I know that kind of became a rant about her, but I don't really know if I even want her to hear this. I just kind of want women to know that, when you're on a pedestal up here, like, everything counts. And I know that you might think it's just my body. Like, it's just my body that's going to count today. It's not anything else. Think again. Look at all these, and now I watch the Housewives, and if you're following my podcast, you're going to know that I do a lot of housewives recaps. Look at all these women that they go on these shows, and all these things come back to haunt them that they did like 15, 20 years ago. People are looking at every aspect of you, and they're willing to just break you down every way possible, especially an athlete, especially someone who's getting paid so much, especially someone that's on the stage that people are looking up to, that you kind of aspire to be. Those are the ones that they get attacked the most. And I just hope for her sake and her ex-boyfriend's sake that they just find peace and they just move on, because it's not fair to him that he's always looked as the bad guy, because he's in a relationship that brings out the worst in him. And it's also not fair to her that she works so hard throughout the year to get herself to this perfect spot, and she gets there, and unbeknownst to her, because sometimes it's just like it just happens and you're not realizing that I'll get over it, don't worry, that's not going to bother me, but really it is, and you're not noticing that it actually is bothering you and it's like hurting you. They both deserve better. He doesn't deserve to be the villain, and she doesn't deserve to always be the victim when it comes to when she's about to go on stage, and vice versa. Maybe he's the victim and she's the villain, but like the way that it's being portrayed, it's unfair to both of them. I think they both deserve love, and I think they can both find it. I think just because two people are toxic together doesn't mean that that person, if they go off in different relationships, it's still going to be toxic. If that does happen, then there needs to be a major self-awareness and self-reflection, like self-growth, development. I need to get into therapy, but I think that it's just the clash of personalities that can bring out the worst in each other. That's where I start off that the most, because you can meet someone that can just change the way you think, and it doesn't mean you don't have to do any self-reflection or self-work. You still have to do that as well, but they can bring out a lot better qualities in you. Not saying that they're better than that person, so like I'm going to be someone better than it's just they're just different. They're just a different human being and different energies that can bring out the best in you. And I think they both deserve it, because he also deserves a girlfriend that can be there for him when he needs it and doesn't just shut up. Maybe she's just the type, I'm just speculating here, the type of personality, because I'm like that. When I'm really laser focused, I have to shut everything off, and it doesn't just vibe for him. These are things that, sometimes you overlook when you just jump into relationships because you're trying to run from something, or the passion is there, and then when the passion wears off, it's like the hard work comes in. And I think this is adulting. It's not the fairy tales that we read when we were younger. It's not The Little Mermaid or Sleeping Beauty. You know, it's real life. And the amount of work that you're willing to put in, the amount of work that you put into your career. He owns a freaking fitness studio. She is a bodybuilder. The amount of effort that you put into your bodies to get it to that certain point, your careers, your business, you can do the same self and just see what it is you need. And if you guys can't be together, you should be okay with that as grown adults. Like, people will move on. They're not going to die. And unfortunately, the ones that do pass because they think that they've now separated or divorced or left from the love of their life, like, it's sad that they think that they just can't move on. But the more self-reflection and development that you do, you're going to realize that you're able to move on. And I think part of holding such a high role in society as an athlete, especially an athlete, because they're really looked upon as like people just adore them more so than actors and actresses. Like, actors and actresses can lead pretty shady pasts, but I think that actors and actresses, now that I watch a lot of reality TV, I realize this is why they kept so private, because they'll always be looked at that way, and then they want to be considered for roles and stuff like that. And this is why they're able to keep their private life private. But as an athlete, like, you're just viewed as like the top notch, and this is why their pay is so much, and people look up to you. You are the one that paves the way for the future generation. And if you're out there beating your wife, for example, then the new generation is going to think, I'm going to be an excellent soccer player, but it's okay to beat my wife. But when they see the athletes like Ronaldo and Messi, who are just family oriented, you know, this is what values it instills in the future ones. You know, be kind and do this. And American sports is a little bit different, but they still uphold it, you know. And if it's come to fruition or to the surface that there are athletes that are, you know, not behaving in respectable ways, and the public gets a hold of it, it's gonna taint not only their career but the league that they play for and the team that they play for. And there's consequences to those actions, right? You're always on. And until you quit and retire and don't give speeches anymore, you're just always on. And I think that's awesome. I kind of love that. I hope that this podcast takes me to a place that I can speak to women and inspire them. And my life won't always be perfect either, but I just always want to maintain that level of transparency where I can just explain where I've come from if there is a mistake made, and because it's all learning. And especially, like, for example, in medical, the best people to learn other types of medical things from are not necessarily the doctors. Like, you can get a second, third opinion, but other people that have gone through the same thing as you, what did they do, and how did they experience things, and what were, you know, they are your best sources of medical advice. And same with stuff like this. You want to find a forum where you meet other women that are, you know, able to communicate and express and tell you what they've been through. And hopefully I can create a community like that eventually. I'm kind of just figuring it out as I go. But for now, just kind of sharing my experience. And hopefully there's women out there that think the same way, and that I can inspire, like, okay, you know what, I'm going to be truth. You don't have to hide your life. Just be honest about it. And the more that you're honest about it, I'm also, by the way, the type of person that when I'm going through something, it's hard for me, if I'm living in it, to be honest about it. I kind of like close off. But also, like me, once I've gone through it, I'm like, this is so valuable. I want to be able to share this so I can inspire or just motivate or just give some type of advice or ideas to other women that are possibly going through the same thing. So my bodybuilding analysis, it wasn't about the whole show. It was just more about that, because I saw that happen, and that's just a value. Like, it bothers me that women can just beat on and like kind of like make other women feel a certain way. Like, Maureen still has feelings, even though she's not the person that you wanted to win. And you're allowed to have your opinion, of course. And as an athlete, that's another thing. You have to be prepared for people to have your opinion, but it doesn't mean that they didn't work as hard and they didn't deserve it just because you think that. I think that, again, reflecting on ourselves, like, if I was the person that didn't win, it's like, what could I do to make it better besides just the stage stuff? Like, how can I just make my presence overall magical? You know, always reflect on you. So if I can leave you with anything, just self-reflection more than projection. I guess is the lesson here today. But both, again, are incredible athletes, and I wish them both the best. And Jesus, the fact that you can just, like, how can they just diet every year? Like, I just give them props, because like it takes me forever just to do it, like a 2-week diet. And then, you know, I'm just learning how to be disciplined with my diet now. And I had to move out of the country and go somewhere where things aren't as readily available on a budget, you know, because if I lived with that abundance, I would be gluttonous. And gluttony is definitely one of my sins. It's definitely something that, you know, I overindulge in everything. I'm an addict. So just learning about yourself, you know. Anyways, with that being said, I hope that kind of gives you guys a little bit of insight on why I thought with the Olympia. I'm sure you guys can go, if you YouTube it, you can find, it's the Mr. Olympia. It was in Vegas this year. Typically is in Vegas. Actually, me and my daughter had driven through Vegas around that time, but we just were on a mission to get down here. So we couldn't really stop and stay, plus like budget, you know, couldn't afford it this year, but I have gone before. It's awesome. Hopefully in the next few years, when my life you know, I'm paying off my debts and getting back to a place where I have a little bit more money for spending, I'll go down for sure. It's nice to be around people that kind of love the same thing as you, and we all love bodybuilding, and we're all there for a reason. We all love the gym. We all understand each other. We all know what it's like to like work out 5 days a week, and no one judges each other. We all eat out of Tupperware, and no one judges each other. It's such a great, safe place for us that really love it. No judgment, and we're just there to kind of like admire and support the other people that have taken their careers to that level, right? So, and are competing. So check it out for sure. It's such a great sport. Be nice to your bodybuilders, please. They're all there because we're fucked up in some way, you know, just trying to figure out our lives. We're not mean, I promise. Sometimes people look mean, but I think for me in the gym, I'm doing my own thing. Because also when you start to talk to everybody in the gym, then you get there and it just all becomes like it's hard for me to just be like, hey, how's it going? Like, it's like literally a 10-minute conversation with each person. So I try not to, but after years of being in a gym, of course, you're bound to make friends. It's like high school. You see the same people every day. And that's how I met one of my best friends. And she approached me after 3 years of seeing me in the gym. So friendships are formed, and sometimes they're the best friendships that you could ever make, but just don't be hating on the people that might have a little bit of a different goal than you. It's just their way of kind of coping with their stuff. So if there's anything that I can say about bodybuilding in general, it's that. Just show grace to everybody in there, please, because they're all there for a reason, from the biggest person to the skinniest to the most jacked. So with that being said, if there's anything in particular that you guys want me to talk about with fitness, please, like I said, go onto my website. It's www.thepursuitofhappinessnos.com. If you click on podcasts, it shows where my podcast when it airs, and the different ways that you can watch it and hear it. And there's a prompt where you can either email me. There's ways that you can contact me. It says under contact me or about. And then there's also a phone that you can, it's not an actual phone, but like you can just like call in and like give your opinion and whatnot. If you have any questions or want me to talk about something in particular or bring up something, please feel free to leave it there or DM me, find me on my socials. I look forward to just chatting with you guys all, seeing what your opinions are. I can't wait till this kind of gets a little bit more traction and get a little bit more feedback, but hopefully you guys are liking it. And the next episode is going to be a Housewives one. So yeah, there's a lot of reunions on and a lot more shows starting. So, and that's another thing that just makes me so happy. So with that being said, have a wonderful evening, you guys, and we will see you next time.